fellow peers, and thank you for clicking on this video. I really appreciate it. It's Choco here, and today I'll be talking about the topic, how can you and I resist peer pressure, as part of the series, Growing Up, Answers Young Ones Need. Once again, thank you for clicking on this video, and oh yeah, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Alright, now I'll sit back and deliver the reason why you're still watching this video, which is, how can you resist peer pressure? Alright, so what actually is peer pressure? Well, according to Mr. Google, peer pressure is defined as social pressure from members of one's peer group to take a certain action, adopt certain values, or otherwise conform in order to be accepted. And while, as we all know, it's only natural to want to fit into the crowd and to be accepted by others, because we've all tried to do so at one point in our lives. And while peer pressure continuously plays on that desire, as mentioned in the slideshow at the beginning, a girl named Eve expressed the fact that at school, us young ones are faced with so many pressures from left, right and centre, smoking, drugs and sex amongst many things, which we know can have very bad consequences now and in the future. But because of the surrounding peer pressure, we can easily lose sight of those things. At the end of the day though, we have to remember that these so-called friends of ours have probably not even thought these activities through properly and are likely just going along with the crowd to fit in themselves, because they've allowed themselves to yield to the influence of others. So what's the actual root cause of that? Well, once again, it all comes down to the fact that they want to be accepted no matter what. And because of that, they allow other people even, to shape what they believe. Note, I said shape what they believe, not shape them as a person. A person's core beliefs and what they really believe is what shapes them as a person in the first place, as well as their way of thinking. Therefore, if we allow other people to shape our beliefs, we could see ourselves in situations or even in friend groups that we will be uncomfortable in. So now the question is, do you? Do you want to allow others to shape what you believe, or do you have the courage to stand up for what you actually believe in? Well, there's actually some steps that you can definitely take to not only build up your courage, but ultimately succeed at standing up to peer pressure. And I'm here to talk you through that. So let's get into it. Okay, so step number 1, anticipate. Oftentimes than not, you can see trouble in advance. For example, you may see a group of your schoolmates up ahead and they're smoking. In this case, you would think, how likely is it that they'll offer me a cigarette? Well, by anticipating the problem, you'll be ready to either avoid it or confront it if needed. Step number 2, think. You might ask yourself, how will I feel in the long run if I go along with the crowd? True, you might gain the temporal approval of your peers, but what you're going to think about is, how will you really feel in the long term? Is it really worth the hassle? Step number 3, decide. Sooner or later, all of us have to decide whether we want to be a sheep and follow the crowd, or we want to actually build our courage and resist and persist against the tide of peer pressure. And last but not least, step number 4, act. Well, you might think that this is actually the hardest part, but actually it's not. If you have already thought about the consequences and made up your mind, simply stating your position can be surprisingly easy. Don't worry, you won't have to give your peers an entire lecture to explain why you don't want to do certain things, but a simple and firm no may suffice. The real key to this is to really respond promptly and with conviction. You might be surprised at how quickly your peers back off. Well, I hope you'll enjoy the first episode of this series, and be sure to tune in next Tuesday for episode 2 to know the steps that you can take further to what I've already talked about today to not only succeed at standing up to peer pressure, but actually build up your character in the process. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Growing Up Answers Young Ones Need, and I hope you find this helpful. Please don't forget to like this video if you found this information helpful, and if you would like any more questions, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask in the comment section. Any other things I can cover, I'd be glad to look through that as well. So thank you for listening, guys. Bye.